Alright guys, shouting out all my subscribers. Shout out the Bus Scammers, shout out Blood Notice, shout out Hanny Cavian, shout out Mira Floor Pojo, shout out Dame Time 1, shout out Stacy Parks, shout out John Emin Ojos, shout out Melody Robinson, shout out Gray, shout out Lilith Vampire Queen, shout out Bruh, shout out C Yuk Wong, shout out Angie Hill, shout out Blue Peanut Shell, shout out Tamika I. Irving, shout out Grace Ann Tanilon, shout out Melissa Smith, shout out Lainey Marie, shout out Innocent Flores, shout out Caroline Takunga, shout out Brandy Hartman, shout out Maria Arvizu, shout out Tay Too Much, shout out Billy Ray Battiata, shout out Orlando Perry, shout out Harper Prods, shout out One Way Lowboy, shout out Custom Built, shout out Secret, shout out George Fordier, shout out Dallas, shout out Simone Heat, shout out Mufasa Simba, shout out 201 IQ, shout out to Happy Brush, shout out Robert Lawler Jr., shout out Pro Gamer is Kind 4569, shout out to Jonah Cochran, shout out Dash Equals Me, shout out Moody Dash Bois, shout out Click02, shout out Unbeatable Camden, shout out Danny, shout out E-Boy Eli, shout out Yeo, shout out Voidy Plays, shout out Green, shout out Ethan, shout out King124 Luke, shout out Ayers621, shout out Maja0329, shout out Puiza Poompui, shout out King Bob, shout out Tro0LL Gores, shout out Andreas Biolavus, shout out Shahan, shout out Zoe, shout out Kristen Lacey Cipriano, shout out Elijah, shout out Steak, shout out Linda Pennick, shout out Unique Burton, shout out Ashley Draso, shout out Mason Spawn, shout out Justo, shout out Fallon, Smiley Face, shout out Stickman Animation, shout out the Little Bowser React, shout out Barrett Kiddos, shout out Ollie the Gamer, shout out Jiffy Wax Jesus, shout out Multiplied, shout out Amazing May Rowe and friends, shout out Bearded Wonder Marshall, shout out Aquawk Ding, shout out King JJ 48, shout out Tate and Middleton, shout out Sarah Shahel, shout out Jensen, shout out Cassandra Trevino, shout out the official UK Country Ball, shout out Jessica Woodbury, shout out Jennifer Arnold, shout out Kimberly Bergstrom, shout out XDJ108, shout out Emily is Just Chilling, shout out Estefania Gonzalez, shout out iGamePro, shout out Robert Malone, shout out Marky Alamia, shout out Josh Fraser, shout out Gloria DeLeon, shout out Unleash Your Drive, shout out Tsunami Mate, shout out Giancarlo Di Cristofaro, shout out James Burns, shout out Amanda Suffrage, shout out B Queen, shout out Sky Blue, shout out Joan Davidson, Smiley Face, shout out Kafili Young, shout out Sarah Pinkham, shout out Cynthia Camden, shout out Ricky the Rat, shout out Ed Lynch, shout out Litz Mast, shout out Jessica Martin, shout out Dragon Puppet Master, shout out Flag News TV, shout out Daniel Lichman, shout out Sarah Ray Wright 25, shout out Tracy MC, shout out Diana Iquihua, shout out David Goski, shout out Arij Halwani, shout out Therian, shout out Jennifer Klieg, shout out Mr. Nice, shout out Joseph Sugar, shout out Salome Nirvana, shout out Yvonne Zazumizas, shout out Nihon Fan, shout out Sonic Speedster, shout out Isaiah225, shout out PK, shout out Bella, shout out 2KAUTV, shout out Dina Caloria, shout out It's Adam YT. Shout out Unknown-1234. Shout out Calcat. Shout out Brandon Harry. Shout out Zimena Jimeno. Shout out Armin Picara. Shout out Zizafo Quiluba. Shout out Veteran Reefer. Shout out Sports Boys. Shout out Chris Adkins. Shout out GGGGGG. Shout out Sigma at Fortnite. Shout out King Lion Basile. Shout out Sizzler123. Shout out Bushan Dinesh. Shout out Cameron. Shout out Jeffrey Byer. Shout out Kelly Fraser Johnson. Shout out Abigail Rose. Shout out Rujid Lude 2. Shout out David Bate. Shout out Galaxy Dragon. Shout out Tyreek Prods. Shout out Elaine McDuff. Shout out Soccer Champion 321. Shout out Drip Family. Shout out Carcerello. Shout out Marisela Medina. Shout out John McAllister. Shout out the Vitirellis. Shout out Praveen Timapuram. Shout out Tiffany Alder. Shout out Not Cool. Shout out D.W. Tolbert. Shout out E Rose. Shout out Osbel Ornelas. Shout out Mike O'Hara. Shout out Pranabod _ shout out Alex !! Boom ! Shout out Panda Nate YT. Shout out AS1021. Shout out Jake09. Shout out Kaisenak Yacht Raider. Shout out Bruh. Shout out NVXED _ of course. OFC. Shout out Serial Designation N. Shout out Dini Nurkisti. Shout out Curse Channel. Shout out Fishstick ! Shout out Last Blocks. Shout out Springtramp. Shout out James4KKJ. Shout out Maxwell Plays. Shout out Dr. Brian T. Long. Shout out Gray. Shout out Liverpool for Life. Shout out Mooncat Mushroom Emoji. Shout out Nathaniel. Shout out Juliet Hernandez. Shout out AAA. Shout out Tamika Little. Shout out Tracy Willingham. Shout out I Like Toys Happy Face. Shout out Melissa Pittman. Shout out Thomas Guy. Shout out Lloyd GD Bonafide. Shout out Ken Miller. Shout out Chelsea P. Shout out Dina Gonzalez. Shout out Professional Nerds. Shout out G Farmy 15. Shout out TTV Vids. Shout out Tommy Snelson. Shout out David Malley. Shout out Fazo VR. Shout out Ella. Shout out EGS #1 fan. Shout out Milia _plays. Shout out Franco Fideli. Shout out S. Shout out Sing Cheng Yen. Shout out Ayman Jayawad. Shout out Cameron. Shout out Manelli Edraki. Shout out Evie Ranatsari. Shout out Nobody. Shout out Adithia the Fortnite Boy. Shout out Plush Galaxy. Shout out Kelly. Shout out Sophie Rial. Shout out Sisitis3. Shout out Burgundy Cortez. Shout out PJG. Shout out Trida. Shout out Enmo. Shout out Toothless. Shout out Preppy Kid. Shout out Kitty N. Shout out Chariel Christopherson. Shout out Lisa Ballard. Shout out May Taylor. Shout out Money J with a 023. Shout out Nikita Selwood. Shout out Mamana Tete for Eva. Shout out Semestime. Shout out our Iki Tangata. Shout out Adriana. Shout out the.gaming.gang1. Shout out Respect _Ronaldo. Shout out Carson's Game. Shout out Lisa Moore. Shout out Joel MM2 Players. Shout out M5 Co. Shout out Kate Green. Shout out Tim Charlier. Shout out Taylor Gilliam. Shout out Issa Gamer. Shout out Latifa Al Nasser. Shout out Wesley Pass. Shout out Anith Alfsag. Shout out Cameron Roberts. Shout out Miss Turi. Shout out Andrea Segua. Shout out Mimi Davis Hopkins. Shout out Marius Kotzi. Shout out Kiki. Shout out Christine Eckhoff. Shout out Suru Tagikayabu. Shout out Sid Simonia. Yavwapum. Shout out Nick the Man 14. Shout out Roblox Whale Gaming. Shout out Shivan Raj. Shout out Arablocks. Shout out Cinema Busla. Shout out Rola Farhat. Shout out Intertrade PVT Ltd. Shout out Merrick DeWet. Shout out Elijah Caracledges. Shout out Nims Lacasa. Shout out I Quit. Shout out Tommy Tina. Shout out Buddy. Shout out Jirjan Montero. Shout out Radha Kurja.